What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome back to a special weekend Sunday episode of Let's Ride. It's the Winners and Losers podcast. For those that might have just found the Let's Ride podcast or the Steel Curtain Network, you know that it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show, but we always do the Winners and Losers after a game. So if the Steelers play on Monday night, Tuesday morning, you'll have winners and losers. If they play on Saturday, like they will the next 2 weeks, on Sunday morning, you're going to get the winners and losers. This is a shorter podcast, not a full 30 minutes, where I go over what went right and what went wrong for the Pittsburgh Steelers after their specific game. In this case, we're talking about the Week 1 preseason game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where the Pittsburgh Steelers were victorious. Doesn't matter the final score. What I like to do is I take a look at who played well, who didn't, and let's break it down by looking at the stats. The stat line is what's important. I found 7 winners and 3 losers after this game. Let's start with the winners like we always do. Winner, number 1, not in any particular order, just the first one listed, Mason Rudolph. He has a stat line of 9 for 10, 84 yards, and 8.4 average, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked 1 time for 10 yards, and that was a coverage sack. He held the ball way too long, and then a 135.0 rating. Now, Mason Rudolph, there was a time this past offseason when we all thought that Mason Rudolph might be called to be the guy for the Steelers this season. And what you got to see as a Steeler fan was what that would have looked like if he was the guy. And with Mason Rudolph, I have to be honest, I always felt that he was capable of orchestrating Arthur Smith's offense. And what I mean by that is when Arthur Smith's offense is being orchestrated the way he wants it to be, you got to go back to Ryan Tannehill with the Tennessee Titans. He wants a quarterback that trusts throwing the ball over the middle, throws it where he wants him to throw it, and gets it there on time. It's exactly what Mason Rudolph did. He was decisive with the football. Play action pass was there. Accuracy down the field. It was a top-notch performance by Mason Rudolph. And if it did nothing, because we know who the quarterback is going to be this season, it's not Mason Rudolph, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Know that if Aaron Rodgers is injured for any duration of time, barring it being a catastrophic season-ending injury, I think we should all be a little bit more comfortable with Mason Rudolph if he had to get you through 2 to 4 games. Mason Rudolph, this showed me nothing, if I'm being honest. The only thing it showed me is that he can orchestrate Arthur Smith's offense. He wasn't here last year, and so I'm comfortable if Mason Rudolph gets called into action. He can still win some games, but he had a great performance, and that's why he's on the winners list. Let's go to the next winner. This guy had a very minimal stat line, but still, Darnell Washington, or Mount Washington as we call him. He had 1 catch, 1 target, 19 yards for 1 touchdown. Why is this important? Why is Darnell Washington on the winners list? Again, he didn't have crazy, insane statistics. Well, I'll tell you why. Because for the first time and seemingly forever since he was drafted, it looked like the Steelers were actually utilizing him in a way that wasn't, those simple naked bootlegs where Darnell Washington was the tight end and just kind of releases out. That worked like twice last year when Russell Wilson was the quarterback, and after that, defenses sniffed it out pretty quick. I just wanted to see Darnell Washington, who's such a mismatch nightmare, when the field gets short, use him. Use him. That's what I want to see. And that's exactly what we saw with that 1 target, the 1 catch for 19 yards in his lone touchdown. Darnell Washington, he spiked the football. He got penalized. His tight end coach was really pissed off on the sideline. But I hope, and I know that Coach Kevin Smith wrote an article. It's going to run on SteelCurtainNetwork.com today, Sunday, probably closer to noon Eastern time, about how he feels the same way that I do, that Darnell Washington could be a bigger piece of the puzzle moving into this season, which is exciting. Let's go to our next winner, the 2-minute offense. The Steelers have been doing a lot of 2-minute, 4-minute offense at training camp, and you've been seeing some reports from reporters and fans that are there in person. It's just never really seemed to come to fruition. You would have every now and then a couple, quarterback Skyler Thompson might lead the team down, but the drive stalls. So there you saw the Steelers with about 4 minutes left. They had the football. Can they do something with it? It turns into a 2-minute drill, and they have their full allotment of timeouts, and it was a beautiful 2-minute drill. It was They got out of bounds when they needed to. They stopped the clock. They got into the red zone. I think they only used one timeout. They had all three. It ends in that thing that was Max Hurlman's touchdown off into the flat to the right. And it was 1-for-1. Ended with a touchdown. Great job. Great job all around. Great job from the coaching staff, the play calling, the execution. That's what you want to see. I don't care if it was Skyler Thompson. I don't care if he was going against backups. Those are the parts of the preseason that you can actually take something from. You can say, oh, here's how they executed the 2-minute offense. And they did it perfectly. They did it perfectly. And it's the only time they really got called in to do that. Yes, you want to see it with Mason Rudolph and eventually Aaron Rodgers, but you take what you can get right now in the preseason. The 2-minute offense is definitely a winner. Let's go to the next winner, Roman Wilson. I chose Roman Wilson. He did not lead the Steelers in receiving. His stat line was this: 2 catches on 2 targets, 24 yards, a 12.0 average, no touchdowns, and a 19-yard long. Roman Wilson, in my opinion, I thought I was going to see more of him. I thought they'd play him more. The fact that they didn't tells me one of two things. Either that groin injury that he had on Thursday, maybe they didn't want to push it, or two, they view him as a big part of the offense, and they're going to treat him like they did everyone else that was a big part of the offense, and they're not going to play him that much. Regardless, Roman Wilson, I thought, was a big step forward. Remember, last year, folks, he had a high ankle sprain, the first padded practice. He missed the entire preseason. He got put on injured reserve. He came off of injured reserve, never really looked right, pulled a hamstring, goes back on injured reserve, I think. Or no, he didn't go back on injured reserve, but never really got back to the roster. It was bad. It was a horrible season. This was a big step in the right direction for Roman Wilson. I thought he had a good burst. I thought his route running was crisp. I want to see him continue to take steps. It was a big step in the right direction. The next winner is Skyler Thompson. Skyler Thompson, who played the majority of the game, went 20 for 28, 233 yards, an 8.3-yard average. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 1 sack for 6 yards. He fumbled the football there, almost lost it. Good job by, I think it was Hull, who recovered that, number 38. And he had a 132.0 rating. Skyler Thompson, I had some people on Twitter during the game message me and say, Jeff, what do you think about Skyler Thompson? Like, what's going to happen with Will Howard? I was disappointed that we didn't get to see Will Howard. I'm sure I wasn't alone. I thought that we would get to see Will Howard play. I thought that we would get to see something from this rookie quarterback, but we're not going to. Maybe, if at all, it would be in the 3rd preseason game, which is the Thursday night game in Carolina. But what I saw from Skyler Thompson is that if Will Howard, if that hand injury is going to maybe linger longer than they thought, they can put him on the 53-man roster. They can put him on injured reserve to start the season. He would miss the first 4 games, and then whenever they want to, they can start his 21-day window. In the meantime, Skyler Thompson showed that he is still a capable quarterback. He can go out there and be a good QB3 for you. Last year's Kyle Allen, Skyler Thompson could do that job this year. Would I love it to be Will Howard? Yeah, for sure. Would there be a team wanting to trade for Skyler Thompson? I'm not going to go that far. Would you be able to keep him in the practice squad? The Steelers typically don't have a 4th quarterback on the practice squad. But Skyler Thompson showed something, whether it's to the Steelers, to the fan base, or to another NFL team, that he can play. He can play in this league. And so Skyler Thompson, I thought he looked great. He deserves to be on the winners list. So we have two more winners before we go to the losers. Next, points scored. Points scored. It's as simple as how many points are you scoring? The Steelers put up 31 points. I know it's the preseason. I don't care. Last year's preseason, they never came close to 31 points. It was one of those situations for me where when I looked at the Steelers being able to put up points, they moved the ball through the air. They did not run the ball well. We'll talk about that on the other side of the docket. But they moved the ball. The red zone offense was crisp. It was efficient. 31 total points. Kudos to the Steelers. They had 4 touchdowns, all passing touchdowns, but 4 touchdowns and only 1 field goal. That's like the antithesis of what we're used to seeing. Typically, it's all field goals and maybe a touchdown. If this is the new norm, and if this is the Arthur Smith offense we're expecting to see this season, even though it was very vanilla and dumbed down, I like it. I like this, where it's trending. I like this direction. All right, let's go to the last. The last winner, which some would say is the most important in the preseason, and that is that they escaped this game basically injury-free. Mission accomplished is the stat line. After the game, Mike Tomlin had a very brief press conference, and he said that Cam McCutcheon had what he called a hamstring or a soft tissue injury, and that really, they're not expecting it to be serious. The fact that you got out of this game and none of the depth players that you're talking about have anything other than, as Mike Tomlin would say, the bumps and bruises associated with football, huge win. Maybe the biggest win of them all. Let's be honest. That is great. That is great to see, unless something creeps up between now and the next time we hear from Mike Tomlin after training camp on Monday. That's great news. That's great news. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. For those that are listening on the audio side, you're going to hear a couple words from our sponsors. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll be right back talking losers right after this break. All right, folks, time for the losers, and there's only 3, so it's going to be a short segment. But these 3 are not, they're not concerning to the point where I'm starting to get worried. That's not it. They're just losers because the performance in this evening was not up to par or what I hold to be the standard. The first loser is the run offense. The Steelers could not generate anything on the ground. Their stat line as a team, 25 carries for 66 yards, a 2.6 yard average, no touchdowns, and only a 14-yard long, and that was Lou Nichols in the fourth quarter. I don't know what it was. Caleb Johnson, he saw a lot of time. There was just no semblance of this is what they want to do in the running game. We saw that in the passing game. In the passing game, when Mason Rudolph was in there earlier with Skyler Thompson, we're going to try and set up play-action passing. We're going to be going over the middle. We're just going to be attack, and this is how we're going to attack. I never felt that the Steelers had that type of plan for the rush offense. Never. And it showed. It didn't matter who was toting the rock. Trey Sermon, Kenneth Gainwell never got a carry. I think he only played like a snap and then he got off the field. So you had Caleb Johnson, Trey Sermon, Lou Nichols, Hull was the other one. It didn't matter. No one was really moving the ball until Nichols at the very end of the game and kind of like garbage time. The run offense is something we need to see improve. We'll hopefully see steps next Saturday when they're home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Keep your eye out on that. The next loser is the pass rush. Now, I do want to preface all this. Their stat line, they did not have a sack, and they only garnered 3 quarterback hits on Jacksonville quarterbacks. I want to be honest. They did not have TJ Watt. They did not have Alex Highsmith. And they didn't even have Nick Herbig. So temper all the expectations. I get it. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you can pressure the quarterback. There were times where Nick Mullins was back there and he's just scanning the field. And this is when, as a Steeler fan, you're expecting, here we go, they're going to come up, they're going to make a play, and it just never happened. It never came to fruition. Jack Sawyer was close to his sack. Very end of the game, fourth quarter, got the ball, and it looked like he had the ball on the ground. Turns out the quarterback actually chucked the ball forward, and it got to a running back for a chunk play. Whatever the case is, I was hoping. Let me say, I'm not going to say I wasn't happy with it. I was hoping for a better pass rush from the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Jaguars, especially in garbage time. And the last loser, short yardage offense. It just seems like, yes, they did have a nice conversion where the Steelers had, I think it was a 3rd and 4. They ran it and got it. It was the 4th and 1 in the second half, right when they get the ball. I think it was the first possession of the third quarter. And they just need a yard. Like, just a yard. And it's not that they didn't get it. It's they weren't even close. Guys are busting through the line. Cornerbacks are crashing down the line of scrimmage. No one's picking them up. The running back, which was Caleb Johnson at the time, was trying to bounce it outside. Like, that's the time you just lower your shoulder and you try to push your way to the yards that you need. It was bad. It feels like the stat line is, and I wrote this in the article, they're picking up just where they left off. There's certain things that the Steelers just don't do right. They don't do well situationally right now. Short yardage offense is one of those. So those are it. That's the only 3 losers that I had. the running offense, the rush offense in general, the pass rush, which was non-existent, and then short yardage offense, just not very good. Other than that, it was a pretty good performance, folks. Not going to lie to you. It was pretty good. We should be pretty happy. Steeler fans should be pretty happy. Not that we're going to be walking around town telling everyone we're going to win a Super Bowl, but we should be pretty happy. I know I was pretty happy. It was a pretty entertaining game. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. And hopefully you all checked out SteelCurtainNetwork.com. That website, this is our first season with the new look website. Comment section looks great. It's updating everything. We had really good active open threads this past week. So really anxious to hear what the feedback is from you, the reader, the listener. Check it out. You can comment on an article I write, and I'll be sure to check those out. Again, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. But make sure you check out all of our podcasts. If you missed the post-game show I do with Brian and Dave, go back and check that out. I'll be back tomorrow with our typical Monday Let's Ride podcast. We'll recap everything that happened. We'll talk about all the latest and greatest surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that does it for this special Winners and Losers podcast. You know how we finish it up. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Go Steelers.